Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining our event today. This event is brought to you by DataTalks.Club, which is a community of people who love data. We have weekly events, and today is one of such events. If you want to find out more about our events, you can go to our website, DataTalks.Club/events. I can quickly click on this because I want to show you one cool feature that we recently we have, that you can subscribe to our Google Calendar. So you can just do this and get notification about all our events. And here on this page, you can also find everything that we planned for the next weeks. So for example, next week we will have a workshop about AI observability and an interview about how to market yourself. So be sure to check this webpage. To stay up to date with our events, in addition to subscribing to that calendar I just showed, you can subscribe to our newsletter, of course, join our chat, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. To ask a question, you can use Slido. So today, during the interview, at any point of time, you can ask any question you want. For that, you go to the live chat. There is a pinned link. You click on this link and you ask any question you want. And we will try to cover this question during the interview. And then I know that many people are watching this event in recording. So if you have any question after the event, when you watch it, you can go to our events Q&A channel and ask your question there. And I asked Tatiana to keep an eye on this channel for a couple of days, at least on Monday. I asked her to take a look there. And if there are any questions, we can answer them. And that's all I have for the introduction. Okay. So this week we'll talk about switching careers from physics to doing machine learning, and we have special guest today, Tatiana. Tatiana is a computer vision deep learning engineer. She is also a Kaggle competition master, and she currently works as a senior machine learning engineer at Cork University Hospital. Welcome, Tatiana.
Hello, nice having me.
Yes. So before we go into our main topic of switching careers from physics, let's start with your background. Can you tell us a bit about your career journey so far?
Yes, so basically, I started my career with PhD in physics, and then I worked in science in different institutes, universities, and developing different optical systems and lasers in particular. And then I started to have children, so I had 2 maternity leaves in a row, and decided that during maternity leaves, it's nice to stay active. And obviously, nanophotonic is not an option because you need a lab for that. So a lot of my friends got very interested in machine learning and they started talking about that. So I also decided to check courses on artificial intelligence and machine learning, and I actually like that. So I started with courses and building them one by one. And eventually on maternity leave, I realized that, yeah, that's what I want to do. And it resulted in the new profession, so in the career change at the end. And I also got some small internship that brought me to that job in a hospital because I developed necessary links. And in that internship, I was also doing some machine learning project for analyzing signals for medical needs. And then in a hospital, they had quite a similar project. So my name eventually came up, and that's how I got in a position that I'm actually developing now the system decision tool, that decision support tool that help doctors to identify anomalies during the labor process and act promptly when C-section is necessary to prevent some bad severe outcome during labor for the fetus.
Okay, that's. I think we'll cover in some more details because you mentioned quite a few interesting things in your story. I think we will cover some of them, like how you approached your learning, a bit later. But I was like a few months ago, I think it was one month ago, I was checking my Twitter, and I saw your thread on Twitter. And after reading this thread, I decided to contact you. And it got my attention. It was really interesting. So the thread was about 12 career hacks. So can you tell us about this thread? So what are these career hacks?
Yeah, so basically on the Twitter, I was talking about career change because it's very popular topic. Everybody actually changes career at least a couple of times in their lifetime. But the first time is always tricky. So people always worry like, oh, career change. And they always ask you questions on how to do it and how to approach that challenge. And I was filling the Twitter with useful hacks that I learned during my career change. I learned it hard way, so I decided maybe I better share my experience so people can hopefully speed up the process a bit using my advices if they find it useful. So the first career hack, and one of the most important ones, is to change your social circle, to be careful about your social circle. So basically, if you have, great friends from childhood and parents, obviously you don't change them, but you have a lot of colleagues and you have a lot of shallow acquaintance, not really deep friends in your network. And if they're not helping you in your career change, if they keep telling you that you're going to fail, it's a bad idea, you have a good job, while you're changing your career, changing career on maternity leave, that does not work, nobody does it, In this case, this circle does not really help you. And it's important to cut off such social interactions. And then you will have a space for new people to come into your life because you will have more free time then. And then it can be people that are more supportive and that already changed career and that can help you and guide you through that. So that's essentially what I did. I cut off about like 70% of my communications with ex-colleagues and all those pessimistic people who were telling me that I will fail and changing career is a bad idea. And when I stopped communicating with them, I started to look for options, and that's how I found the ODS community, and I entered the community, and that's where I found my new network in a career, and not only career now, I also have friends there, and that was very supportive because there is a saying that your average of like 3 to 9 people you're friend with, so it's important to be careful in choosing your friends and in choosing your circles. So, and that's what DataTalks.Club community is also about. So if you that you're developing now, so to create that kind of circles and that kind of social interactions that helps you grow. The second important, also important hack is to forget about your fears and stereotypes, because a lot of people are quite afraid of change, and then they have a lot of stereotypes. Changing career at 35, oh, you're too old. Changing career on maternity leave, that's not going to work, and so on and so on. Those are not real. Those are just your fantasies, and they have nothing to do with reality. So some people contact me and ask me questions like, I am 26. Am I too old to change career? And I'm like, seriously, you're 26. You're not too old. And you're not too old in 36, 46, 56. And you're going to change your career, because at 60, there is no chance you're going to do the same stuff that you're doing today. And that means that between today and between your 60s, there will be a career change anyway. So just get used to that thought. So career hack number 3 is forget about distractions that don't bring value in your life. In my case, I realized that such distractions were Instagram, Facebook, watching movies, even Twitter and LinkedIn and those nets are important for PR, but when you're changing career, you have nothing to PR yet. You did not make that paper or pet project or anything else. You're just learning, right? So just shut down all those social networks. You will see how much time you have. Because you need to create a time. When you're on maternity leave, you don't have time. You only work when you have a chance. And if you're going to spend time on Instagram and Facebook, it's just not practical. So you need to cut off all those distractions. And some useful things like LinkedIn, you're going to use them later when you're ready. But don't open that when you are changing your career and you are learning, because you open it for a minute and then you're absorbed for 15 minutes. That's what usually happens.
I think there are some apps that help you do this. Like you can have an extension for Chrome that blocks your Facebook, that blocks your Instagram, or I think you can also install something on your phone. I don't know. Did you use something like this? Or?
No, well, I have a good,
Will?
internal will, but so if I decided
Like you.
I don't know. But if whatever helps, if you need external thing to block you from that,
That's what I need
that,
usually.
whatever. Just when I was stopping smoking, I got off smoking, and that's it. I used to smoke quite a lot, like a pack of cigarettes a day. But I just cut it as soon as I got pregnant, and that's it. And same for here. I just cut it and didn't open. And now I open it again, but that's because I need that now for career options and to find network and so on. So, but not all of that. Instagram, that's it. So the next important hack is when you are changing career, you have this imposter syndrome. Suddenly, everybody is so smart, they know everything, and you just don't know nothing. You keep learning and learning and learning, but you still have this imposter syndrome. So, because it's hard to validate yourself. So, the important hack is do not overestimate others and do not underestimate yourself. But how you're going to estimate your skills correctly if you change in career? Well, you need external validation, right? So for the external validation, I started to go on interviews, and because at interviews show you which skills you lack, which skills you are good at, and it helps you to put your place as a specialist with this skill set on the market. So go to the interviews even if you are not ready to start the job. My mistake was that I was on maternity leave, so I was waiting when Alisa grows up a bit so I can start working, and that's when I started to go for interviews. That was wrong. I could have done it earlier just for external validation to see which skills I need to a bit increase and which skills are actually okay, and to get rid of that imposter syndrome. But the best thing to fight imposter syndrome is not actually to go on interviews yourself, but to conduct interview, to be on the other side of the table. And the good thing to do that is mock interviews. In mock interviews, it's not a real interview. There are platforms for that, like Prompt, for example. When you interview others who are trying to go to the big tech companies and so on. So when you're on the other side, you're an interviewer, you're going to see now immediately all the weak places, all the weak spots for yourself. And that helps you a lot because in an interview process, then you can adjust your own behavior that fits better and helps you to pass the interview.
How does it help? Like when you interview others, how does it help to find weak spots in yourself?
Well, basically, when you interview others and the other person keeps on and on and on telling about his experience, you realize, oh my gosh, I'm doing exactly that. I need to shut up and I'm talking too much as for me. Yeah. So when I saw it in others, I'm like, yeah, that's not good. That's not good. I need to write that story concise in 2 sentences, maximum 3, and practice it. Because if I am going like this guy, that's not good. And things like that. Or for instance, you ask a person to code and a person immediately starts coding without thinking how to solve the problem. And you're like, yeah, I'm doing exactly that. I should not do that. First, you need to think and then to write a code. It's much better. So, but it's hard to spot it in yourself. It's easier when you do mock interviews to others, actually. But we'll come back to that when we discussed interview preparation. But yeah, that really helps me because it also was a change in psychology. So I was working in science, and academics have a bit different mindset, to be honest. And when you come to industry, the mindset is a bit changed. And to see that, to spot that, it's important to actually have those mock interviews from people with industry. So they're more like not that much about your potential and how smart you are. It's more to the point of which projects you have done that are similar to the project that they need to do. So, and it's a bit different tailoring of the interview. So that helps. It also helps when you see others struggle. You realize that your imposter syndrome will actually disappear when you start to interview others, because all your impressions that everybody is ingenious but not you will disappear. You see, he's also have problems with that. It's okay that I have that.
Yes.
The next hack is number 5 is attention genius, I call it. So basically, in life, you don't notice everything. You're not capable of noticing everything. You notice only those that you pay attention to. And the thing is that you can choose what to pay attention to. So you can focus on positive things, you can focus on negative things. You did not solve that problem today, you can focus on that, or you solved that problem, you can focus on that. Some people will tell you you will not succeed, you will fail, you're going to have haters. It's important to cut off attention from that people and that event. So whatever gonna, put you down, just cut off attention from that. You got a hater, great. Don't pay attention to him. Pay attention to those who help you and to your mentor and to, more important things that bring value to your life. In general, it's a good advice, So choose where to put focus of your attention. The next one is make a team. So it's harder to progress just by yourself or to learn by yourself. It's much more beneficial and faster to learn and to grow when you have a team of like-minded people. And apparently you can create a team for nearly everything. You can create a team to play Kaggle, you can create a team to write a paper, to do the pet project, even to do the course, some course, you can make it in a team together. So recently I had a course from venture capitals in the team of 5. And that was fun because we could discuss things together. And it's more fun to learn that way. But what is most important, other people have different kind of expertise and you absorb that expertise from them. So when you're Kaggling with great guys who know a lot about other stuff, you actually learn from them much faster. So, and it's not waiting for the team to come. It's really make a team. So you want to make a team. You're going to find the people, convince them to play with you on Kaggle or to do pet projects or to do that paper. You need to find win-win strategies. So you need to find people who will also benefit from that, who want the same course or who need that paper as well. And then when you are doing that together, you learn from them and you help them. And it's like win-win strategy. And that's ideal because it actually saves your time as well, because it still gives you a result, like you have a paper or you have Kaggle master, but in a shorter time that you spent, which is also critical in maternity leave.
How do you find these people? Like, how do you go about convincing them? It's
well,
not as easy as it sounds, right?
Yeah, well, sometimes people find me, actually, quite a lot of times. They contact me and...
now, because now people know you, but let's say some time ago. Like
some time ago, when I just started, I was finding people on Kaggle chat and writing them. Like one guy was from Australia and he seemed nice in chat and he was novice in Kaggle. And I could see that he programs better than me. That's what I needed. But he doesn't have a clue how to solve the problem. And I had a clue because I've read the papers. So I just wrote to him that I have this background, like PhD in physics, and the Kaggle was about astronomy. So maybe we can benefit from teaming with each other. And he replied, yes. So he was in Australia, I was in Ireland. And then we started to do that together and we got to the top. And then I invited one guy from Moscow who is a software engineer with great experience, and he was Kaggling for a while. And that's how we got like first silver, almost gold, but it was good for the first try.
Okay. So
anyway.
basically the recipe is, the hack here is just to reach out to people.
Reach out to people, exactly. The same with papers. I wanted to write a paper, but I didn't have material. So I reached out to a guy from ODS who actually won a competition. And I asked him, can I please use your code and write a paper based on that, but I rewrite it. And he gave me access to everything, to his server even for calculations. And helped me with advices as well. So, and then I was looking for somebody else to join to help me with writing because I was short on time. So again, I just wrote like a notice like, hey, I'm looking for co-author who will help me to craft a paper. And that's how Alexander Kalinin wrote me, and he's great in writing papers, really. And he helped me to craft that and to finish that things. And it got accepted to CVPR workshop. So that's how you make it.
Yeah,
and you find win-win strategies. So you find people who are also interested.
So reach out to people, have something to offer, like have a clear offer in the, first message. And then like if let's say, if let's imagine a situation when I won a Kaggle competition. That never happened, but I like imagining this sometimes. If somebody wrote me saying, hey, awesome solution, can I write a paper about this? It's very difficult to say no, right?
Yeah, I also
Yeah,
thought this
so
way, and it worked out. Yeah. And also, if you're looking, just if you don't know whom to contact, like in Kaggle, you see the person, so you can write the person, or in ODS, in DataTalks.Club. But you can actually write an open message like a LinkedIn. Hello, I am working on that paper. I am looking for co-authors who I need a help with this, and that. Like do calculations. I have all the code set up. I just need to, somebody running experiments for me, looking for a student who can volunteer for that and have a paper. I can assure you, within 24 hours, you're going to have a lot of students from all places in the world who will be, happy to help you with doing their tasks for the co-authorship, for example.
yeah, thanks. So we are done with 6 hacks, right? There are 6 more.
Oh yeah, we need to hurry up. Sorry.
No, I think we have enough time.
So yeah, less hack is less is more. Forget about perfectionism. So there is a Pareto rule that says that around 20% of offer gives you 80% of the result. And that's actually true. So focus, all your efforts where you're gonna gain that result. But there are those, minor things that you need to finish, but they can take you enormous amount of time. Maybe you're not good at that. Maybe you don't know anything about that. Well, outsource it, delegate it, find that win-win strategy, get a team. The best is to focus your energy on those 20% that bring 80% of results in your case. And for instance, if you're not a front-end developer and at the end you need to do something on front-end, find a front-ender. Find that win-win strategy or outsource it or pay for that, delegate it, whatever. And forget about being perfect because nobody is perfect. And that perfectionism, it takes a lot of extra time and you simply don't have it. If you're changing career in maternity leave, you have no time, so you have to be careful on how you spend it. The next one is...
Sorry, I just have like maybe it's actually important. Like, how do you find this 20%? Like, how do you even know that this 20% is important and this 80% is not important? Like, how do you?
Well, you kind of see some things can take you enormously long. For instance, if you're just not good at that or don't know how to make it completely, they can take you enormously long. And if this is not something that's going to contribute to your future career, if this is not that skill set that you actually require, then the wise thing is, instead of spending then a lot of time of learning all that new framework or whatever that you are not going to use anyway, just to outsource it. But of course, there are cases when you want to learn these new skills, and then it's a different story. So,
okay, and
for instance, you're not learning front end, or you don't need Java, yes. So spending a lot of time of, kind of learning all that and doing front end as well, when you're not going to do it at work anyway, so you're going to forget about it. So
yeah, and then one thing maybe, like when you don't know if it's something you need or not, because I imagine if you're switching career, if you're just learning machine learning or doing something like that, you don't know if you need to learn this topic, right? Like, let's say, do you need to learn neural networks for this project? And I guess in this case, you can just ask somebody who is more experienced, right?
Yeah, you need mentors. So that's another hack that we're going to.
That's another hack. Okay.
So the next hack is number 8. It's initial creation. So when artist creates a painting, what happens? The first creation always happens in the head. The artist visualizes the painting. He can actually create it already in his mind, and then he paints what he created. The same initial creation applies to everything. When you, for instance, want to do some code for Kaggle competition or to do some code for your pet project or your paper or whatever, when you have some free time, so you're working with a kid and so on, but you cannot work, so you basically, your mind is free, but you're not working in the computer. You can save whole lots of time if you are thinking about what you're going to write or what you're going to code before. So for instance, you are cooking dinner and you are thinking how exactly you will approach the architecture for that machine learning solution, or what you're going to write in that paper, or what you're going to write in that proposal. and so on. So basically, you create it in your head anyway. And during the day when you are busy with other stuff, you have a lot of time when you can create it in your head. You just cannot get your hands on the computer. And then in the evening, when you finally have a few hours to put your hands on the computer, you've already created all in your head. So this is gonna speed up you a lot because you just need to do it, but you already know what to do.
Do you capture this idea somehow, or they stay in your head? Because for me, like if I don't write it down, then they're gone like the next minute.
No, I remember when I think through something, I remember that.
Yeah.
Maybe just a question of habit, that's how I used to write on literature, or, little essays about literature that we had to write in schools. I would actually think and then go and write. So maybe that's just a habit.
So it's useful to somehow train your memory to remember this. But I guess it's like even if you're busy with your daily stuff, it doesn't hurt to have like a piece of paper and a pen.
Well, you can write it down. You can actually have dictaphone. So sometimes I just, turn on microphone and I record things that just come to my mind and they're useful. So just that I don't want to forget. So, but anyway, usually then remember. The other important thing that this initial creation included also visualization of your goals and of yourself. So you want to changing career is also the project a bit of creating yourself. You create a new self in a way, at least professionally. And so visualize that end results, that visualize yourself in a new job, in a new role, confident, knowing what you are doing. Visualize your goals. It helps a lot because you kind of trick your mind in the state that it's already kind of achieved. There is a lot of practice about this. Is called South Kampa. When you go
how it's called?
Kampa. It's a bit from Buddhism and meditation techniques. When you visualize your goal, the idea is that you visualize your goal in presence, like if this already happened. So get your desire, your wish, whatever you want, and visualize it and repeat it 3 times in present sense, like this has happened. And then go away and do your meditation. And it actually some kind of works because you trick your mind in the things that it's already happened. So you start to behave the way that if that already happened. And like that, your behavior actually makes it easier to happen.
Interesting.
Well, for instance, you want to stop smoking, just tell yourself, I don't smoke anymore. I don't smoke. I stopped smoking. I don't smoke anymore. And then the next day, you probably, you trick your mind, and in future, your brain will be easier to not think about cigarettes, because you're convincing your brain that you stop smoking. So, just as an example. So that's number 9. Number 8. Number 9. Number 9 is to find mentors. This is very important because mentor is somebody who already passed the way that you want to pass, or who is already in the role that you want to achieve, or who is a person that you want to become. Basically, a mentor can speed up your process a lot. You don't know where to start learning how to do it. Your mentor can help you with that because he or she passed that way. And again, choosing your mentors and finding your mentors comes to the hack number 1 of changing your social circles. You need to find the social circles where you will find some mentors. And for me, it was ODS, obviously, when I found a lot of mentors who were helping me, literally writing me the plan of what I need to learn, what is important to learn. And sometimes I would actually use crowd opinion as a mentor. So I will ask a question to everybody, and a lot of people will react. And then some people think this way, some people think that way, but there is such thing as common sense. So if many people reply you the same thing, you think, maybe that is valid because everybody is mentioning this, for instance. So that is important.
So you just reached out to people? I think it goes back to the other hack about making a team. So this is how you found team members, and this is how you found mentors, right?
Yes, it's reach out as well, but mentors is a bit different. So team members, you create a team just for a short period, like for some project. But a mentor, you actually, ideally, you find him or her for a longer time, for years, you know. So, and for that case, developing relationships is a little bit different. So for making a team, I just try to say, look, I'm working on that project. I just need your help with this. Are you interested in joining? And if you're finding a mentor, it's, I cannot just write a stranger like, hey, do you want to be my mentor? This is just not.
Some people do that.
It's not how it usually works. So you communicate with people, you ask questions, and then you establish those relationships. And when you establish relationships, the person can become your mentor. But it usually does not happen at a spot. It usually comes gradually. So you keep asking people who know more. Sometimes I was asking all the questions just to everyone, and some people will reply me in private about information. And then people who were replying me often, I started to ask them directly. And one mentor who's really great, he wrote me directly, like, you can ask me questions about this topic if you want. That is great, then it's kind of inviting you, giving you opportunity to ask questions, and he will advise. So
you need to be active, right? So you need to be asking questions. You need
to be active. You need to be visible, and it's always personal. So nobody is gonna mentor you if he or she does not like you, and if you don't like your mentor, it's just not gonna work. It should be also about chemistry. Like with some people you get along well, and with some people you don't. So those with whom you have some chemistry and mutual connection, it really helps. Like, because having a mentor is like having a friend, basically. So. There has to be some, a similarity in a way.
Okay, thanks.
So, yeah. The next one is number 10. It took me 30 years to learn, to be honest. You have to learn how to say no. You have to learn how to say no to some people, to the projects you don't want to do. People sometimes bombard you with some offerings, and at that point, when you're changing career, you have lack of time, you have to choose what to say yes to, what you say no. Maybe you don't want to be a member of that committee just now because you have other things to do. Because it's very easy to become overwhelmed on maternity leave. So, and they want you to be a committee in crash or in school, as well as somewhere else. And some people ask you for other projects, and you just have to say no and choose wisely what to focus on and but learn to say no to people, and don't sign up for things that you don't want to do just because you're polite and you don't want to really make a person unhappy. This is not your job to make everybody happy. You have to take care of yourself as well. So say no when you mean no.
Do you have something like maybe no more than one project at a time, or something like this? Like, how do you decide when to say no? Like, let's say something an interesting opportunity comes up, but you already know that you have some other thing on your plate, right?
Yeah, well,
this is when you say no, or?
Well, yeah, you see, if you have enough now at the moment, but this is interesting, you can say that, okay, let's reach in 1 month. Currently, I'm busy. But sometimes things that come up are not really interesting, so you have to be upfront about that, like no. Or sometimes you started an interviews process, so you got like 2-3 interviews, but you got some other offers to do, and you had some other offers and some other options, and you see that there is no way to continue, no point to continue this interview process because you actually did not like, the team from the start. Just say no. And some people, they just continue it to the end, but I don't think it's really wise because you're spending your time. Of course, if you have extra time, you can continue all interviews to the end because you're going to have many rounds. And even if you don't intend to take a job, you can still continue. But if you really like your time and you want to save it, if you, after the first 2 interviews, realize that you did not like the team, just say, no, I don't want to continue interview processes. I got other options. So it's fine. So hack 11, it's do not be afraid of failures, actually look for them. A lot of people don't try things because they're afraid to fail. This is so wrong. I believe that only through failures you actually learn. The best lessons you get is when you tried something and did not work out. So you made some mistakes, you realize those mistakes, and that's how you grow. And so if you don't have any failures, you try new things and you don't fail, it means that you don't try hard enough or you're not ambitious enough. You have to be ambitious, get higher goals where you will fail. And that's because that is a growth process. So if you are not failing for a while, maybe the projects that you are doing are just too easy for you, and you need to a bit scale up or make more ambitious goals. So then you will fail, because failure brings a lot of lesson and a lot of valuable information, and you really can build success on failures. But people are afraid of them. I think it's because for some people it's painful. And I think that maybe it can be a problem with ego. If person is quite, kind of have a big ego, and if the person fails, he's like, oh my God, I was wrong here. This is so painful. I don't feel painful from failures, to be honest, and I observe kids. So for instance, when my kid tries something and it doesn't work or it fails, he's never disturbed, or he's never like, oh my God, I made a mistake. This is not 6, this is 5. They don't feel pain about that. This is 5. Okay. So that's how children learn. They don't have that much ego, and they don't have pain when they do failures. They fail and they learn. So you have to have this childish attitude a bit in learning and be like a child. Forget your ego, focus on learning and appreciate failures. That's how you grow.
And I guess failures is like when you don't pass an interview, when you get rejected, right? That's a failure.
Exactly. Some people feel so much pain about that, and it's a bit funny because that's how you learn. You have to be happy that you have failures. Yeah. And
it's difficult to be happy about this. So you really need to convince yourself. But I think one of your other hacks was about that. Like
exactly, focus of attention. I also have children, so I observe them. My child says, "This is green." I was like, "This is actually blue." First of all, he doesn't feel any pain that he made a mistake. He says, "Oh, okay, blue." But I don't like to call it blue. Let's call it green. So you can learn from children a lot. They actually fail all the time. That's how they learn to walk and so on. And if the child will be afraid of falling, he will never learn running. So you have to have that attitude, because that's how you learn. And that's number 11. And the number 12, I think it's the most important. Take care of yourself. You have to have still sleep. You need sport. If you need some help with your imposter syndrome, ego, whatever, get a psychologist. They're great in that. Do some meditations. Take care of yourself. You need to dedicate at least like some time during the day when you take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, it's your job. No one else will. So you have to love yourself, and to get your husband to make a dinner if you're tired and go to sleep. Ask help of your parents to look after your child and get to sleep if you need it. So I'm talking now about maternity leave, but besides maternity leave, anyway, when you're changing career, you're gonna need some help. It's okay to ask for that, and it's okay. It's not selfish anyhow to take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, you will burn out, and that's not a good idea. So this is important.
Yeah, that I'm listening to you, and some things they are a bit contradicting each other in my head. I'm just I'm curious, like so let's say so you have 2 kids, right? You need to look after them, so they need a lot of attention. Then you have some projects, like you're taking part in Kaggle competitions, you are writing papers. Then you also set yourself ambitious goals, right? You don't want to like you're looking for failures, so you want to set ambitious goals. And then at the same time, you also need to sleep, to meditate, like talk to a psychologist, right? To fight this imposter syndrome. And it's just 24 hours in a day. Like, how do you find time to do all that?
Yes, so those are the hacks that I was telling you. So for the kids, I hired a nanny.
Okay.
Yeah, you need help, hire a nanny. For cleaning, I hired a maid. Yes, she's coming and cleaning. Fine. When I'm busy, we get Chinese takeaway. Yeah, it's fine to get Chinese takeaway. My husband helps me in the morning with kids and sometimes in the evening as well. Because, but now, during daytime, I can work, but on maternity leave, when I was really with kids, then I was working after his job. So he finishes at 5:30, and he takes the kids, really helps me, and I go to learn. So, and but it's still important to get that cycling round, like a few days a week and so on. And that's why I was talking you about that first initial creation. So when you're cycling, you can think through what you're going to code in the evening or what you're going to write. And that helps your time. When you keep, the one important also things is to keep focus. So when you start doing something, whatever it's writing, coding, whatever, learning, forget about distractions. That is the hack that I told about Twitter, Facebook, and so on. Shut it off. When you really focus on learning or on your project, you realize that you actually, if you have just 4 hours a day for concentrated work, so you start like an evening when everybody goes to sleep until midnight, you're going to have a lot of done. Sometimes people with focused work, they can accomplish the same as people during their full-time working day, to be honest, if you just 4 hours straight into that.
So you need to get into the flow, right?
You need to get into the flow, yeah. And it's also practice. I am an artist in a way, so for me it's easy. So when I start painting or something, if the plane will fall next to me, I may not notice, to be honest. I can be that much into creation. And I can do the same in coding, in writing, in learning. Some people cannot do it, but I believe you can practice it like artists do. So when you're painting, everything disappears. You're just there. It can be hours, suddenly 3 hours passed. You're like, wow, I made a painting. But yes, I had time like from 5 till midnight. It's about 7 hours. And for 7 hours, really focused work, especially, yes, then you get 1 hour more for cycling, for instance, for the sport and so on. But actually, not that much time that you need, especially if during your daytime, when I was cooking and taking care of baby and going for a walk, if I think through what I'm going to create, that is enough. And just don't work more hours, but work more and deeper during the hours that you have. That's the thing, that is the hack that I should have included, actually.
Yeah, maybe for your next Twitter thread. We have a couple of questions, and I think some of these questions actually overlap with what we wanted to talk about. So one question from Razona: what was the mock interview you mentioned? I think it was prompt or.
Yeah, I can mention the resources for how to prepare an interview.
You can just share the links after the chat, and we will put them in this description. Then a question from Alexandra. So what does Tanya think about Kaggle versus Omdena? So do you know what Omdena is?
No.
Omdena is a platform where it's like data science for social good. So they have some sort of initiatives, and if you don't have any experience, you go there, you have some sort of mentors, and you work for a couple of months, maybe 1 or 2 months on a certain project, and you get help, and you really work with somebody on a specific project. So then this question doesn't, well, since you don't know what it is, I'm wondering if you tried any similar initiatives like that one?
Well, I tried that internship project, which is actually was like for social good. It sounds like a pet project, like internship. Yes, I can say about Kaggle, like
yes, because we plan to talk a bit about Kaggle, so maybe let's.
So I can say about Kaggle, yeah, because I cannot compare to that platform, but I can say about what is pros and cons for Kaggle, and she can decide for herself. So basically, Kaggle can teach you a couple of things. Kaggle is great for learning machine learning, for practicing machine learning on small, relatively small, clean, ideal data sets with quite good distribution, actually. So it's like a simplified environment when you already have the data and the task and the metrics are chosen, and you just try different machine learning approaches. It can help you great in starting off in the machine learning because there are notebooks where you can read code of the others and learn from that as well. So it helps you to learn exploratory data analysis. It helps you to try different machine learning approaches quickly. You can try different state-of-the-art approaches from papers also quickly, because some people will publish it in notebooks and some you will adjust and implement. And it helps you also to learn how to, create validation properly, because a lot of people in the beginning, they make mistakes in validations and then they fall in Kaggle on private leaderboard. So, and it is a great community where you can also find your teammates and potentially mentors. What Kaggle does not teach you is all the rest. Basically, Kaggle does not teach you how to transform business problem into machine learning problem. It does not teach you how to communicate with different stakeholders, realize their needs, choose metrics that reflect business metrics as well. Which data do you need? How much data do you need? Where to find the data? Collect the data? Where to label the data? Then that machine learning part you have on Kaggle, but then Kaggle doesn't teach you the rest, like how you're going to deploy that model. This make it all reliable, all those CI, CD, DevOps, MLOps, and deployment, and monitoring and maintenance in production, like your data shifted, what you're going to do, how you're going to monitor that. So all that around, it does not cover. So I'd say that if you take a job in reality of machine learning and deep learning engineer, Kaggle covers like around 10-15% in the middle when you actually just play with different models.
And your internship experience, did it cover anything outside of just modeling?
So for the pet projects, that's what I think that it's important to have both. For the pet projects, you have a bit wider things, but it depends on the pet projects. So for instance, if you need to collect the data, decide what data do you need, how much data do you need, send them to labeling, that's one thing. If you already have a ready data set, that's a different thing. If on internship project, on pet project, you usually also don't choose the topic you're going to work on. But if you need to choose it, or you can talk to different stakeholders and realize the business need and propose a project yourself, it's even better. So pet projects rarely go to production, to be honest. But the difference with pet projects, it covers a bit more things still. And if you have the mentor, like on that platform, that the way you described it is that there is an opportunity to have a mentor or supervisor, that's great. That's what I had, and that's very great boost, because he can help you to start and introduce good practices and help you to avoid some mistakes by weekly meetings. So how often you're going to have them, I don't know. So this is going to save you time. So that's why the advice is to do both some pet project and Kaggle. But the pet project, instead of doing just something similar to Kaggle, it's better to do that end to end. So you find a problem that you want to solve with machine learning. You find a person who can benefit from that. You convince that person, maybe not for money, but anyway, that you will deploy it at this person. And then you find the data, you collect the data, you label it, do that all end to end, when you have zero data and no metrics and no nothing, and up to production when it goes to some website or to the server, or at least pack it in a Docker. So that's going to be like complete, instead of just some.
I guess it makes sense to start with Kaggle, because if you just became interested in machine learning, you are lost, right? So okay, there is this thing called Kaggle, but when you will not be able to convert a business problem into machine learning terms, you will not be able to select a metric because you have no idea about these things. So I guess Kaggle makes sense for a start,
Kaggle
like you start with Kaggle.
Yeah. See, I was changing career after science, so for me it was quite easy to think about business more, because it's still, after some career in science and after PhD and stuff, you think that way, But yeah, maybe Kaggle is better for starting.
And what resources for learning machine learning can you recommend? Like in addition to Kaggle, I guess Kaggle is a great, can we call it resource? But it's definitely a good website to check.
It's a learning resource, definitely.
Yes. Is there something else?
Before going to Kaggle, I recommend actually familiarize yourself with basics. So that I was doing courses on Coursera. I really loved them from Stanford. Machine learning and deep learning by Andrew Ng. Those courses are quite famous, and I really recommend everybody to first grasp that concepts before you go on Kaggle, because it will be easier to learn. Then, because I was changing my programming from MATLAB to Python, I also did a course on Udacity on Python, just to get a grasp of it.
Do you remember the name of the course?
I think it was Python for machine learning or something like that, or Python for data science, because they were covering things like pandas, NumPy, and all those useful packages. You will not know all packages in Python, it's impossible, but those that are mostly used.
I think 1 month ago we had a guest on this podcast who also recommended, I think, the same course.
Just to start.
Yeah, okay.
I can send you links,
yes.
And then we can add the links to. Then the next course, so you have machine learning, deep learning, Python. Some people take courses on SQL. So it's important if you want to go in a position of data analyst, or you're going to work a lot with SQL databases. It's straightforward to learn SQL. And it's also nice to do it systematically. So there is like 2 weeks course that you can take. And then important course as well, many interviews want you to do some coding exercises on time. So, and if you don't have a computer science degree, or you had it quite a lot of time ago, it's nice to check course 6006 from MIT about data structure and algorithms. It actually covers Corman's famous book on data structure and algorithms. So those courses. And then I started to do some courses for fun, like specialization on self-driving, for instance. But this is not needed if you really, don't want it. So we can send, I can send the links to those courses. Then, of course, Kaggle, because it helps you to practice. And then there are a few books that can help you to understand, how to make end-to-end machine learning pipelines. And you also need to learn system design. So there is a course, Grok in System Design Interviews. It's more for interviews, but it helps you to understand in general how to build large scalable systems. And there is a new course there about Grok and machine learning design, but to be honest, I didn't like it that much. I think it is quite shallow. It's not really going deep enough, in my opinion.
I guess for this Grok in system design, this is something you take really towards the end of your, like when you already feel comfortable with other things, because I think this is more like a next level, like to level.
Yes, I mentioned them more or less in chronological order.
Yes, I understand.
Python, machine learning, deep learning, Kaggle, then that MIT course on data structure and algorithm, system design, machine learning design. And then if you want to learn how to put it in production, you can also, there is a nice course on, you can learn Flask, or you can learn Fast API. There is course about that, and there is course on JavaScript, and depending on what you want to learn. But that's after you mastered machine learning just by itself, and you will understand, what is the next step.
We have a question from Aman. So what level of Python programming one should have before starting with Kaggle?
0. I know, because that's what I was doing. It's okay, I got Kaggle Masters. You'll make it.
Yeah, so basically what you need is
to start. You just need to start, and that's how you will learn it. Yeah.
Python is not like if you compare it with other languages like Java or JavaScript or I don't know, even R. They're so difficult compared to. This is at least my perception. They're more complex than Python. Python is quite simple in a sense that there is not much there in terms of syntax, right? It's not overloaded with syntax. unlike other programming languages.
Yeah, I learned Java some time ago, so I can also compare. Yeah, I did not like Java. I liked Python
Very
much
verbose,
more.
right? Yeah, maybe we also have a tip sorry, a question. I think it goes back to when we were talking about having this focus time. Do you have any tips on how to improve your focus?
Yes, some people deliberately practice meditation for that. There is different types of meditations. Some of them like Vipassana meditations when you focus just on breath, body scan when you focus on your body sensations. And there are analytical meditations when you just think about some problem and just focus your attention on that problem. So I think that kind of analytical meditation is very useful for learning how to think without distraction about some technical challenging problems. I had the skill again from school because we used to have school Olympiads on physics and math when you have 4 hours and very challenging problems. And you sit there like for 4 hours trying to get that, medal in school Olympics. And that really helps you to focus really straight for 4 hours, on those physics problems.
But I still cannot imagine. I have just one kid, but he can. It's so easy to lose focus when there is a kid. Like something, I don't know. Like when he starts playing, something is. He's very loud, and then like even if I'm in a different room, just hearing that something is going on, like maybe there is a furniture falling or something like this, it's very difficult to stay focused. Like I don't know how you manage to do that.
Well, I don't know. I can cut off that. As I told you, I can paint and don't hear anything. I think, well, maybe I have natural tendency for that, first of all. But I think when you also focus like body scan, so you only focus on your hands, legs, and so on. And if somebody's running, something happens outside, you just, that's what you say. You make a mental note. Okay, I notice that sound. And you're coming back to your practice. And then again, with meditation and learning you to focus, it's not going to happen in a week or two. And don't trust anyone who will tell you it will. But if you do that for a year, you will see the result. So you can train your brain to focus. It just takes time.
So it's not easy. It's not like.
It's not easy. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
not easy, but it's worth it, I think, because if you can control your focus, your attention, and your mind, those who control themselves, they control everything. There is a saying that the person who controls himself controls the world. So, and that is a bit true.
Okay, so there is no silver bullet. You need to. It's not just you take a pill and everything is great. So you need to work.
Well, there are some magic pills, but I haven't tried. So.
Okay, let's not talk about
attention,
this.
There are some pills. I know in US, a lot of students, not a lot, but some students take before exams, so when they prepare for exams and during the exams, some pills that help them to focus. But I don't recommend this way, and I never tried, but I know that exists.
Yeah. So we have a question from Saurav. So what is your view on Astroinformatics? And do you know anything about this? Astroinformatics?
I was doing just some project in astronomy, so I don't know much. It was quite a long time ago as well. So.
But you said your research was you mostly focused on lasers, right? In your research, so not astroinformatics. Yeah, because the question was about if machine learning is gaining momentum in this field. I don't know if you know.
Well, I just know about astronomy because that's what we published a paper in. And in astronomy, it was about, in Chile, before COVID, in Chile, they planned to open a new telescope, which is like much larger than Hubble and going to collect a lot of data. And the challenge was to classify signals from different objects, can be stars or it can be some other objects that you get from the images from that telescope. And yes, indeed, they started to look into machine learning approaches to do that. And there are papers about that as well. So, but that's pretty much all that I know. So, but I believe that a lot of fields now are trying to apply machine learning in physics as well. However, how successfully it goes is still kind of questionable.
Okay, so we have two more questions. So for some people, math might be a serious roadblock. I think for you it wasn't, right? Because you had this experience in physics. You also took part in competitions, you said, when you were at school. So you, like for you, I guess math wasn't the problem, right?
No, for me, it's just a
Uh,
school math. Yeah.
yeah. So what part of your math background helped you the most for your transition to machine learning?
Well, the first year of university in physics.
Like
When we got
linear
these
algebra,
matrices
right?
and so on. So, physics use much more complicated math than machine learning. So for me, it's like trivial math compared to what we do in physics.
Mhm. Yeah, I remember like even differential equations for in that we studied on second course, they were quite difficult, and none of this is needed in machine learning. Right.
Machine learning,
I,
everything is linear, like almost.
yeah, maybe there are some applications of differential equations, I don't know, in time series or something, but in general, like in industry, it's quite uncommon to see more advanced math than just I don't know, first course of
Well,
university, right?
if your industry is aerodynamics, then you're
Okay,
gonna have
yes,
some
that's a
math.
different story. But if you're
Just not
predicting
in machine
things,
learning yet, but I think machine learning can benefit from using more sophisticated math as well. It just did not come there yet.
okay, yeah, because now we have deep learning, you just throw more data, more hardware at it, and it just magically works. Nobody knows how and why, but
Well, I can tell you what I was doing in lasers. I would take a system of differential equations, which also has some parameters. So some parameters, all parameters obviously have some physical meaning, but some of them are not trivial to measure. So what you're going to do, you're going to try to twist those parameters to fit the experiment. So you are doing literally like in machine learning, but with this system of differential equations by twisting some parameters, actually.
okay. So we have another question. Um, so for you with this background, so what did you need to focus on? Like what you would recommend people with background similar to yours, what to focus on? I guess so. Math is not a problem. What was
Math is not
problem for you?
not really a problem, but I was not programming on Python before, so I tried math. I was programming on Pascal and Java and some other things. And so for me, it was actually learning Python. And then I never had computer science degree, so all those algorithms and data structures I had to learn. That's why I really recommend this MIT course. So, and I'm still practicing on LeetCode to get a grasp of doing that coding questions well, because if you're in computer science degree, you probably learn a lot of those algorithms and practice them. Most important is practice before. I never had that practice, so it takes me time to get good at that.
Thanks. So we have a question from Mike. What was the main reason for you for leaving the academy?
I had 2 maternity leaves. So if you're not active for 5 years in career, you can forget about career anyway. So I decided that I want to keep learning on maternity leave and keep growing and developing myself. And that was convenient way to do it because you could do it from home. You don't need anything. Yes, one of the resources that I did not mention, you actually can get some access to free GPUs using credits in Amazon Cloud and Google Cloud that they give occasionally on Kaggle competitions. But also, if you register account on Google, you can get 300 free credit for Google Cloud, and you can also ask what for GPU and use it. So I was completely independent. I could do that alone from home, and all I needed was a laptop. So 2 maternity leaves really kind of, that was maybe the main trigger for that.
I guess I have no idea how it happens with lasers, but I guess you need some special equipment, right? Some lab to where you do experiments, right?
You need a lab, and also in nanophotonics, it's usually class 10. So class 10 clean room, when you actually dress up like the doctors on coronavirus in China, you have mask and you have goggles and you have all this. And because they should avoid contamination. And on top of that, there is a lot of chemistry in making lasers, and the pregnant women are not allowed there. I learned it hard way, actually. When I got a project in Elves, I cannot do that. I got pregnant. So, but yeah, it's better. If there are ladies who are watching this, please think about pregnancy's possibilities in future and choose career which is okay with that.
Yeah, we should be wrapping up. So maybe you have any last tips before we finish?
Well, maybe I'll just give some last tips for preparing for interviews and that we did not kind of cover. Maybe people will be interested about those. To prepare for interviews, the best tip I can give is to actually practice it as a mock interview. And the resource that I mentioned is Prompt, but the best resource is also your network. So talk to people who are also looking for a job and you kind of interview each other because it's nice to see it from the other side of the table as well. And another, for Russian speaking communities, we can send a link to some Telegram channels. In the Telegram channels, people also meet to mock interview on system design and on coding and on machine learning design, that type of things. To prepare for interview, you when you think that you're gonna go for interviews soon, it's time to start practicing lead code because they ask a lot of those coding questions from the lead code, but it's hard to solve them on short time if you have not practiced before. It requires practice, and lead code probably needs like a couple of months of practice, so it's better start it in advance. Then when you're closer to interview, you can get a course on Grok and system design interview, and on machine learning design. Unfortunately, on machine learning design, there are no good courses yet. So whatever I've seen was not quite happy with that. So, but something is better than nothing. Plus, I had a great experience already at work. So that was easy for me to tackle. And do again mock interviews on that part. And refresh your data structures and algorithms as well. So basically, those are the main things, and I can add links after that to the resources to prepare for interview. But the most important is to come to the interviews. So if you even don't want to start a job immediately or you feel you're not ready, you can be always ready to send your CV. It's okay if you're not completely ready before you go to interview, you try and fail, because before you fail around 5-10 interviews, you probably will not pass them. So it requires also to practice and to gain that skill of understanding what the person wants to hear and what signals you want to show and how you're going to show them. So.
And that was also hack number 11, if my notes are correct. Look for failures, right?
Yes.
So you cannot avoid failures.
Yeah.
And,
apply to Google tomorrow. It's okay if you fail. You're going to learn something along the way, maybe.
Okay, so last tip is apply to Google. Right?
Well, not necessarily Google, but
Facebook, right?
if you apply into big tech
big
companies and you fail interviews with them, you actually learn as well. It's a good learning experience.
Okay, so where can people find you?
Well, I have LinkedIn and what else?
Twitter, Instagram?
Yeah. Well, I'm not Instagram, sorry.
Not on Instagram.
and Facebook, but I don't check it. Yeah, mainly my main resource is still LinkedIn and Twitter. Starting to look at Twitter as well. So,
okay.
And I'll be answering some questions in DataTalks.Club next week.
Yes, thanks a lot. And yeah, thanks a lot for sharing your hacks with us, for sharing your experience, your knowledge. I'm sure it will be helpful for many people. And thanks everybody for joining us today and watching our chat today with Tatiana. And I wish everyone a great weekend and see you next week.